welcome back to the Engler Journey podcast. I am your host, Olivia Vanderford, and today I have the pleasure of being with an entrepreneur that loves to educate, Jenna Knake. It's so nice to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, could you introduce yourself a little bit, where you're from and where you grew up?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Jenna Knake. I'm a sophomore here at UNL, majoring in agricultural education, and I'm originally from Syracuse, Nebraska, where I grew up on a small farm where we raised American quarter horses and a small herd of commercial cattle.
So coming from a small farm like that and then coming to UNL, a big school, what challenges did you face coming from a smaller community coming to a bigger community in Lincoln?
I think the biggest challenge of coming from a small school to a bigger school like this is when you're in a small community, you say yes to everything. You fill your time with absolutely every club and opportunity, and in college it's just not as easy to do that. The advice I received coming into college was pick 3 things and do that with 100%, and even with those 3 things, it's still hard to balance sometimes. So learning to be efficient with your time and manage things to the best of your ability.
Yeah, so really getting involved, but not too involved, having that balance. So being a part of the Engler program, how did that help you find a community here on campus and work through some of those challenges of being too involved?
Yeah, Engler is definitely home away from home. The people in it are probably the biggest thing, when you're feeling overwhelmed and you have to make those decisions of what to cut out of your life and what are the things that are genuinely important to you. I feel like between the staff and just the other students here, the conversations you have are really life-changing and can alter your path of what you choose to go do, and maybe you invest your time a little differently because of the types of things you're involved in.
Yeah, so what have been some of the classes, or who has been a big mentor for you at Engler that has helped you along your way and starting building a business?
I'd say Dave Lamb and Brennan Costello are probably the 2 biggest mentors for my business, Connect Ag Ed. I'm currently in Enterprise Studio, and the opportunity to work with them individually on coaching has been amazing. Dave is one of the biggest cheerleaders ever, and every time I leave a meeting with him, I feel inspired. Brennan asks the hard questions, and sometimes those questions are things you need asked, and I admire them both and appreciative for them beyond belief.
Yeah, so Enterprise Studio, I don't know a lot about it. So for people that don't know, what is that class and why is it such an important class to be a part of?
So Enterprise Studio is a new opportunity that they've created in the space. So normally the progression of classes goes from 101 to $50 business, 388 and 48 with some modules sprinkled in between. The opportunity of Enterprise Studio is that I took 388 and then I'm subbing Enterprise Studio in for 488. So it gives you a cohort of individuals who are really pushing to get their business on the market soon, and gives you people that understand where you're at, and it's more individualized than a set curriculum. So sometimes it feels like you're wading in muddy water, and that's helpful to have someone guide you through that and answer the questions that you need where you're specifically at.
Yeah, so having someone help you along the way, but you're kind of being thrown into that, which is actually helpful in some ways. So you started your business in this class, correct?
I actually started Connect Ag Ed in 388.
Okay.
I had the idea my sophomore year of high school, but it was more of just an idea. But the progression of going through 388, and that's a class that focuses on customer discovery. So talking to 50-plus ag teachers and a ton of different industry people that are part of agricultural education have helped me shape what I really want my business idea to be. Because for a business like this, it takes a lot of pre-work, like laying the foundation. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and you said that you also have another business, correct? Okay, so is this a leatherworking business you were telling me about?
Yep. So I started the Tipsy Armadillo leather company just after Christmas break my freshman year. And I had no idea what I wanted to do for the $50 business class. And I was digging through the attic, and I found this rustic box filled with leather tools. And I asked my dad, I'm like, what is this for? And he's like, oh, I had those in high school. I was dabbling in leather work. So I picked up these old tools and some old leather and just started messing around with it. And I realized, wow, this is really cool. Because I had always told myself I'm not creative. I don't have creative skills. It's just not something I'm good at. But through working with leather, I found that, there is creativity in everyone. It just looks a little different.
Yeah, can I ask, too, where the name came from? Because I really like the name.
It just took a lot of work. I had a whole long spread-out sheet talking to a lot of people from family and friends and putting some different words together, and that's what I stumbled upon.
Yeah?
The honest answer is that my boyfriend said that's what he'd name a bar one day, and that's what we came up with.
I like the armadillo. I think that's a good part of your name and your brand there. How did you get to promote your business through Engler, and how has the community helped you promote the leather business and your Educate Ag business?
So in the $50 business class, that's awesome. I mean, they really throw you in the waters. They give you $50 and you learn all of the skills of starting a business, but with a $50 investment rather than throwing away millions of dollars. Because we preach in Engler that you fail forward, fail fast, and fail cheaply. So the opportunity to do that with $50 is amazing. You learn all the same skills, and part of that's marketing. So in there, I learned how to run an Instagram account and really cater to what an audience might want, again, with that customer discovery. And then working with this higher level business that's going to take more groundwork laid out. I just pitched in the new venture competition. And while I didn't make it past the first round, it was still an amazing opportunity to go learn a ton and having people that coach you along the way to do that.
Yeah, and I've heard that pitching is a big, important thing, and especially in your career. You can use that in really anything.
Absolutely.
What is one word you would use to describe your businesses, or maybe another question, maybe a better question to ask is, what is one word from Engler that is like your favorite word that really connects to yourself?
So we have 6 pillars in Engler, and the one that inspires me the most is passion. And I think that's one that I came into Engler with. I feel like if you're passionate about something, it'll drive you farther. And that's how I feel with my businesses, because I feel like if you're just chasing money, you're not going to be as successful you'll be more successful if you have passion behind you, the fire in the belly, so to speak, that we represent Engler with. But I've also learned the value of grit and partnership, which are some of our other pillars, because there's people in this space that support you through the hard times, and you need that grit to get through them.
And even today in my 101 class, we were talking, and I'm sure you took that one, did something Tom said, like, who do you play for? So if I can ask this, could you say maybe who do you play for when you're doing your businesses?
Yeah. For the Connect Ag Ed, I'm definitely playing for the ag teachers across the country. Currently, we're facing an epidemic where a lot of people are leaving the field of teaching. In fact, the Schuyler District lost 48 teachers this last January, which is a huge amount to replace. But through this business, I want to solve problems for ag teachers. I mean, of course, I want to make money from it at the end of the day, but the money's not the thing that's driving the venture. It's the fact that I want to support agricultural educators, which are then supporting the next generation of agriculturalists.
Yeah, and you're an ag ed major,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so that really connects to you. And your leather business is also just something that you enjoy to do, kind of a side gig. I was kind of wondering, too, with that side gig, what has been one thing that you've really enjoyed making? Like, what do you enjoy making the most?
That's a tough question. I enjoy the projects that require me to do a little thinking, ones that I've never done before. Someone's like, can you make this? I'm like, well, I haven't before, but I'm sure I can. For example, I made a gun holster this last year. I didn't have a pattern for it. I just had the gun and some leather, and I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. It'll end up fine, and it did. I was really proud of the ingenuity that goes into trying something new. And I think that the creativity and the opportunity to really step out of my comfort zone is what I enjoy about that business.
Yeah, so that's really kind of sums up the Engler program,
Yeah, exactly.
trying something new, doing new things, even in this business that you've created. So one of my last questions I wanted to ask you was, what would you tell someone who really wants to get started in entrepreneurship but may not know where to start?
Well, if you're coming to UNL, definitely join Engler.
Yeah.
But if you're not, just start. You have to start somewhere. You have to have something on the table. It's really easy to talk, but doing says a lot more about your character and your ability to get going. You can fail forward and still keep going. Like I said, Engler preaches that failure is not a bad thing. In fact, it teaches us and we learn from it. So, of course, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but the faster you do it and the more rapidly you move forward, you're going to be more successful in the long run.
I mean, I think that's just something important to tell people, that being involved in Engler, you just got to start. You just got to start doing something. Even in 101, for me, I'm like, I just need to start. Stop thinking about it and just start. Could you talk a little bit about the opportunities in the garage and what people can do in there in terms of doing crafting things in there?
Yeah, the garage is awesome. I can't say enough good things about that space. Snap-on Tools donated $100,000 this last year, which, the Snap-on toolboxes in there are pretty cool. But it gives students the opportunity to really expand their opportunities. Innovation Studio over on Innovation Campus is another opportunity a lot of Engler students have. So like Scrappy Woodworks, he has the opportunity to go use all of their high-dollar equipment over there and get their businesses off the ground. But between the garage and innovation studio, students can really dive into their passions and not have to spend thousands of dollars to have those equipment. And the $50 business class is a great place to start that.
So one of my last questions as well is, what would you tell your past self about becoming an entrepreneur, kind of connecting both these questions together?
Yeah. Well, I think I always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, as a 3-year-old selling eggs to every neighbor in my community. But I don't think I really saw myself as the entrepreneur. I think we all picture a little bit, you know, the person with this huge startup in Silicon Valley. But that's not necessarily what entrepreneurship is for everyone. I mean, it can be a leather business, and we have a lot of those craftsman businesses here in Engler. The entrepreneurship can tie back to creativity, too, and that there is something inside of everyone, each of us. You can cultivate that, and a program like Engler can really inspire you. So I would tell my younger self that everything will be okay, and you're going to turn out a lot more successful than you think in the moment.
So what inspired you to get involved in the Engler program?
So I heard about the Engler program back in high school, and that's because there were some awesome girls that paved the way for me to this program, starting with Hannah Esch. Well, that's her maiden name, actually, but with Oak Barn Beef. And she was such an inspiration for me as a young girl in the beef industry, and then also just watching her, she started her custom beef business. And then I also had 2 other girls, which you interviewed Sydney Wells Saint last week, I believe, with W. Silver, and then Madison Kreifels, 2 other Syracuse alum that were a year older than me. So watching them excel in that program for a year inspired me as well. So then I decided to come here, and there's just so many amazing opportunities. And we all came from the same place, but we all pursued so different opportunities, from, you know, custom beef to info film, doing videography, silversmithing, leather work, and, you know, a curriculum platform. All of those are very different things that require very different skills, but we've all been there to support each other along the way.
Thank you so much for being here today, Jenna. I've really learned a lot more about you and why you want to be an entrepreneur and just make a difference in the world. So I'll have to look into your leather work.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today, and I will always love talking about Engler.